Hey, welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. I'm Harry Wilmington. So I recently came across this very interesting question on Reddit that I want to answer because it's one that I don't think it's really talked about much, but it's the idea of how in love do you need to be with a person in order to get with them, and if you find out later in life that you love them a lot more, but like you're early on you weren't feeling it, should you feel guilty for the way in which you got with a person, how you were loving the person then versus now, and is that something that you should be concerned about in terms of like what the other person actually deserves, or if you deserve the person you're with? And so I'm going to read the question, and I'll stop in bits and parts here to kind of answer some questions that this guy brings up. But I just found it to be a really interesting question. And so here's the question. So this guy says he settled for his wife and he chose her based on who she is and wasn't in love with her when they first got married, and he feels like he doesn't deserve her. And he goes, "My wife and I were friends for a long time before dating. She always had feelings for me, but she was terrible at giving signs and I was worse at reading them. But after a while, she confessed that she likes me. 5 years ago, I didn't love her, but I was sick of toxic girlfriends who would cheat, flings, and hooking up, and I just wanted to settle for a nice, calm, healthy, both mentally and physically above average looking girl who was responsible and loyal, and she fit the bill perfectly. So I asked her out, we went on dates, I proposed, and she looked really happy and certain about her future, and we married after that. And our relationship is pretty good, a lot better than our friends. We barely fight. We spend a lot of time together, and I try to be as loving and responsible as possible in our marriage, and I try to make her feel loved and supported. I obviously love her now, but I didn't back then." So I want to start by saying that on average, I would not typically try to start out by trying to go for somebody that you don't have active feelings for, because there's a more higher chance that your like for them is going to probably fall off, and then it's unfair to that other person, okay? But this guy was friends with her for, like I said, for a lot of years before they got together, and he was out there. He's out there looking and saying, like, I dated all these other women, they're just complete trash, and this is a good one. And so I can't really fault this guy on some level for, like, recognizing that the way that he was dating beforehand was toxic, because there are a lot of guys that get into toxic patterns of constantly picking people. And so what can happen is your comfort zone for dating could be with people that are toxic, with people that are going to cheat on you, with people that are going to disrespect you, because for whatever reason, maybe you grew up in an environment where your parents didn't respect you a lot, or they were talking back constantly, or you saw your parents cheating. So subconsciously, we end up trying to pick people that are similar to what we're comfortable with, even if it means that we're not going to get the result that we actually want, which is somebody that's going to be loyal and faithful. And so this guy clearly took a chance on, I'm going to step out of the comfort zone of what I'm used to and date somebody else. But with that choice sometimes can come the reality of, like, you're not feeling the strong feelings that you would have felt for somebody that was more toxic, because this is something new that you're not used to. And I've had so many women that I've dated that have come from situations where they dated guys that were toxic, weren't always there for them, weren't able to really connect with them on a deeper level, but that's what they grew up around. So then they date me, and a lot of times those women, it feels weird to them initially because I'm relatively well adjusted. I came from a good family that loved each other. I know how to talk to them respectfully. If arguments arise, I'm willing to sit down and talk it out. I'm willing to listen to them. I'm willing to do a bunch of stuff, and I'm in a lot of ways different from a lot of guys that most other women have dated. And they told me in the beginning, it felt kind of awkward. It felt kind of off because this isn't what they were used to. But the fact that what they were used to was toxic meant that they knew they couldn't go back to that. You know? And then over time, those women would get used to the way that I was and actually come to like and appreciate that. So this guy is experiencing that same thing. He was with the woman and he knows that this is the best choice, but just the feeling tone is off for him because he's not used to that. And recognize that in your own self, guys, that part of you may actually see women out there that are good women, that do want to actually be there for you and will be loyal, but you may be turned off by them based on your own previous traumas. And you have to recognize that, go to therapy, talk it out, figure out anything you can do to not put yourself in a more toxic situation, all right? Continuing on, he says, she also gave birth to 2 healthy kids. She has never been happier, and I'm trying my best to keep her that way. And I've never felt so safe in life, and for the first time in my life, I feel like everything is going to get better, and we're going to live a happy life if nothing terrible happens. Well, understand that life is going to happen. terrible things will happen inevitably, whether it's, somebody gets cancer, somebody's parent dies, like life will throw stuff at you. Ideally though, the person you're with is not going to be the torment of your life. If anything, they should be the calm in your life. Even if something happens in terms of like health scares or whatever, you two for each other should not be the turmoil that is the cause for any kind of stuff you're going through in life. But anyway, continuing on, he says, I really appreciate her and I'll do anything for her, but I was never super crazy about her. I just settled for her for the reasons that I said. And unlike the stories I hear, I didn't move heaven and earth to be with her. Everything just kind of happened. She had feelings for me. I saw her as a fit wife, so we dated a bit and got married. It has been bothering me because maybe she deserved that type of guy who would do anything to be with her and loves her to death. I've always been like this, though, specifically when the girl I was in love with cheated on me, some back in the day. Should I feel guilty? I kind of feel like I don't deserve her. So, few things to point out here. So, for one, all those things that you spoke of are fairy tales, okay? All these shows and movies out there about these guys that were willing to do these, these big feats or acts of strength or these big, sweeping romantic moves and gestures and those love songs where they say, I'll do anything for you. I'll die for you. I'll move heavens and earth. Like, the reality is guys that proclaim to want to do that stuff for women make women feel pressured into having to date them. Women don't want to feel pressured, and more importantly, women don't want to be put on a pedestal. Most women dump guys that are putting them on pedestals, that are putting too much importance about them and how great they think they are, whatever, because that is not really love. That is obsession. And women don't like guys who are obsessed with them because that can lead down an unsafe path. Plenty of women that have been obsessed over and pedalized have also been killed, stalked, family members hurt, etc., etc. Now, me, I recognize that putting pressure on somebody to try to date me never worked. No matter how much I liked them, no matter how much I wanted to try to see them or write them letters or this and that, nothing that involves pressure or involves you trying to demonstrate that you're going to be able to do anything for them, including die for them or move or whatever, has ever really kept a relatively sane woman who is about her business attracted to you. Okay? So all those things you spoke of is actually not the way. And what I found also is that ultimately love is a choice. Okay? And so since I've gotten older, especially my late 20s and 30s dating, I recognized that because dating is a choice, that means that I also have a choice in dating. And that it really boils down to key elements of attraction, whether it's like you guys relate to similar things or have similar backgrounds or similar interests or whatever. But it also is the decision to say, hey, I'm going to make the choice to be with this person day in and day out, regardless of how much they annoy me, whether we have arguments at times, whether, anything that comes up, I'm going to be willing to work on that thing because I'm going to make the choice to stick with this person. This is my person. And no matter what, it's ride or die until the end. Okay? And that thought process is a direct choice. It is not the one that is romanticized in our society. Like saying to somebody, hey, you know what? I choose to love you today in spite of whatever's going on. That's not really romantic. But that doesn't work really well for movies and TV shows and music because you're trying to sell a fantasy. They're trying to sell the idea of like romantic love is the only kind of love that matters. And no, the choice to love somebody is equally as important, because if I have these butterfly feelings of somebody, but I'm not trying to help them get a new job, or I'm not trying to help them with the kids, or they're not feeling certain things towards me, or when we get into a fight, well, that's it, we're in a fight and I'm out of here, then I'm not making a choice to love that person. And the choice to love somebody is very, very important. So in this guy's case, he said, you know what? I don't know if this is the girl for me, but I'm going to make it work out. Like I said, do I recommend that being a strategy? Really, I don't. Okay, I really don't. But now that he's at a point where he actually really does feel love for her, for him to go back and think, I need to feel guilty for the way I was previously thinking about her and the fact that I really didn't love her at first, that's not a necessary thing. Because the reality is that even couples that start off with this lovey-dovey love and this really strong, like romantic style love, once they get married in a relationship, that love doesn't last every day. There are days where I know my parents did love each other, but there are definitely days where it's like, hey, I love you, but I'm not feeling that romantic love for you today. Or I love you, but things are kind of stressed right now. We need to take a little break or whatever. Like the point is that love is ever changing. And so the high romantic feelings you would have felt with her in the past, you could be in a marriage now where today you don't feel that. And tomorrow you don't feel that. And this whole week you don't feel it. But then sometime next week, you're going to feel that romantic style love that you would have felt early on. So if for you, it just happened to come late in the game where you were feeling that thing, there's nothing to feel guilty or ashamed about. And more importantly, it is not a conversation you need to have with her. And to be honest, for most women that you date, they really only care about what their feelings are for you. I mean, they want you to like them, but they also have the lens of like, but I really, really want this guy. And there are plenty of women that are chasing guys that they know don't want them, but they still want them and they're going to go after them, okay? So recognize that as long as she's still feeling good about you, that's all that matters. If you're feeling some kind of way about how you feel about her in the past, get a therapist and talk to them about it, but do not talk to her about it because she is emphatically in love with you and it's fine the way you love her now. Don't think you got to feel guilty for how you loved her in the past.